Given their expansive nature, open world projects tend to be some of the longest video games in existence. It's possible to pour hundreds and thousands of hours into a single open world game without exploring every nook and cranny. While there are short open world games out there, most entries in the genre require a significant investment of your time. That's part of the reason these titles are so popular. They reward commitment with content and immersion. Hello again, friends, and welcome back to Game Rant. I'm Casey, and these are 10 open world games that take the longest to complete. At number 10, we've got The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Game of the Year Edition. Those with an inquisitive nature will find enjoyment in The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Its enemy variety and character customization are masterful. It's not only one of the most exceptional open world RPGs of all time, but it's also one of the longest open world games. It takes approximately 173 hours to complete The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The Witcher 3's gameplay's enjoyability does not diminish at all as players progress through the game. In fact, it's the endgame that puts it alongside the greatest games of all time. At number 9, we've got Eco. In early access, Eco is a survival game fueled by climate change. Players are plunged into a reasonably massive world and tasked with establishing themselves, which generally means farming resources to get set up. However, the world is negatively impacted by the community's global actions. A single person's behavior might not carry significant consequences, but everyone contributes to the environment's decline. Eco is a fascinating concept that, for the most part, plays out like a relatively typical sandbox project. Focused on multiplayer, this game requires players to interact and work with each other. At number 8, we've got Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Unlike the Far Cry sequels that have remained relatively within the same ballpark, Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed games have steadily increased in scope, both in terms of map size and story length. Valhalla is comfortably the franchise's longest entry, featuring a campaign that stretches out far more than 50 hours. In many ways, this Viking-themed adventure improves upon its predecessors, providing superior combat, customization, and secondary quests. With so much content to go through, Valhalla can overstay its welcome, particularly since players need to complete a certain percentage of busy work to unlock new main missions. Conversely, an argument could also be made that one cannot have too much of a good thing. At number 7, we've got Final Fantasy XII. Final Fantasy XII took Square Enix's franchise in such an unexpected direction that the JRPG's brilliance took a while to be fully appreciated, at least by non-critics. One of the game's major alterations was the introduction of an open world, a stark departure from the linear style of previous entries like the highly acclaimed Final Fantasy VII and X. While Final Fantasy XV would tread similar ground, Final Fantasy XII is still the franchise's greatest implementation of this concept. As impressive as the vanilla PS2 version is, the Zodiac Age remaster is the best way to experience this seminal title as it incorporates quality of life improvements that lessen some of the game's more frustrating elements. Either way, Final Fantasy XII is still massive and will take someone roughly 50 hours to complete. And that's without taking the side quest into consideration. At number 6, we've got Xenoblade Chronicles X, an open-world RPG so good it almost justifies buying a Nintendo Wii U. Xenoblade Chronicles X takes place on Mira, a massive planet consisting of 5 continents. Alongside a slew of companions, players traverse this gigantic map, completing side quests, defeating wildlife, and advancing the main story. Compared to Xenoblade Chronicles, X is a bit more concerned with its gameplay and world over its narrative. At number 5, we've got Valheim. Valheim is currently still in early access, so the game's full scope has yet to be revealed. Despite still being a work in progress, this sandbox Viking game is already jam-packed with content and should keep people entertained for weeks on end. The survival game drops players into one of the world's biomes and challenges them to endure the harsh environment, defeat bosses, and build a little home for themselves. Valheim lasts as long as someone wants it to. At number 4, we've got Project Zomboid. In early access, Project Zomboid is a survival game with no real endpoint beyond, well, surviving. Players are dropped into a post-apocalyptic setting and challenged to make the best of a terrible situation. Naturally, this means scouring the world for resources, crafting items and weapons, and building a base. Project Zomboid has more than proven its staying power after roughly a decade in the works, and the game is arguably more popular now than it has ever been. While certainly a must-play for survival fans, the horror title is a hardcore experience that could be a bit too much for newcomers to the genre, at least during the first few hours with the game. At number 3, we've got Elite Dangerous. This open-world space flight sim is one of the most exceptional space games available. Elite Dangerous puts players in control of a spaceship amid the Milky Way galaxy. Is that big enough of an open world? Elite Dangerous contains countless star systems for players to explore and ply their trade. Completing the game's content takes over 200 hours, but mapping the entire game would take infinitely more. By the way, it's still considered an open world if it's out of this world, right? At number 2, we've got Satisfactory. Another game in early access, Satisfactory presents quite a unique spin on the open world concept. Set on an alien planet, the player's goal is to craft factories so that they can mine the resources needed to survive. It's a sim game that happens to be set in a sandbox environment. While the game's map is not randomly generated, Satisfactory takes a mostly hands-off approach so that people can bring their own visions to life. Alongside the factory sim aspect, Satisfactory has some basic combat and exploration. And taking our spot at number 1, Kenshi. Developed mainly by one person, Kenshi is undeniably impressive as it's one of the longest video games to complete according to the website How Long to Beat. The sandbox game prioritizes player freedom above everything else, opting against anything resembling a linear storyline. In its harsh world, survival is anything but guaranteed, and players start with nothing to their name. Depending on someone's actions, they develop their skills, growing more accustomed to Kenshi's unforgiving challenges. The world also adapts over time, leading to the creation of new cities and prominent NPCs. And there you have it, folks, the top 10 open world games that take the longest to complete. Let us know in the comments below what are some of your favorite open world games that you're probably still playing to this day. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, be sure to visit GameRant.com for more top-notch gaming content. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care for now.